Hi friends, welcome back or welcome to the channel if you're joining us for the first time. My name is T and this is my YouTube channel, Crumpsy and Sewing. So in today's video, we're talking about the new Look N6609 and I'm so excited to share with you my pattern review of this. I have been working on this pattern throughout the summer and I was able to create two different looks with it. One is with a Morex fabric. It was sponsored by Morex and I absolutely love the way in which that garment turned out. And then I have another one with this beautiful blue and white fabric. And so I cannot wait to share with you everything about this pattern. But we're going to go ahead and first start with the features of the pattern and what the pattern includes. So the new Look N6609 pattern is a pattern that has two different patterns within the envelope. So the first is views A and B, which is your top. You have a top that has a flutter sleeve version, and it also has ties down below the waistline. You have a rounded neck. Your front is cut twice because you have those long ties. And then you have your back. Your back is also cut twice as well. And then you have view B, which is essentially the same top as view A, but it's sleeveless. You also have view C and D, which is a handkerchief skirt. Now, I am not one for handkerchief skirts, and so I decided not to make the skirt. I made a different skirt to go with this top, and I'll tell you more about that later on in the video. This top is also cut out twice for the front and twice for the back, and it has an elasticated waist. So this particular pattern come in US sizes 8 to 20. And you have, for your fabric suggestions, challis, charmeuse, crepe, crepe de chine, jacquards, lightweight linen types, and silky type fabrics. You can also do views D, which is the skirt, and a bordered print. So for views A and B, this pattern is calling for one package of a 1/2 inch wide single fold bias tape, and that's going to be for your neckline or your armhole if you decide to do the sleeveless version. And for view C and D, you need 1 1/8 inch of 1 inch wide elastic. I'm sorry, 1 1/8 yards of 1 inch wide elastic. So the total pattern pieces is 5 pattern pieces. And so that should tell you how easy the top will be. So for your top, you have your front, your back, and your sleeve. Or if you decide not to do the sleeve and you do the sleeveless version, you only have the front and the back. Because remember, your neckline is supposed to be finished off with bias binding. Now, I didn't finish my neckline off with bias binding. I actually created a pattern for a facing pattern for the front neckline and for the back neckline. And I also made my neckline into a V because I prefer to have a lower V neck instead of a high round neckline. I did not do the high rounded neckline, so I can't really give you any advice or I can't really tell you a review of the neckline itself because I modified my neckline. However, for the rest of the garment, I can definitely tell you how that sewed up. So I had to do a forward shoulder adjustment because I have sloping shoulders and they're forward as well. So I had to do a forward shoulder adjustment and accommodate for that. And then I also raised my sleeve in as well. So I did the variation, the flutter sleeve variation with the navy blue floral print that I made. And I absolutely love it. However, I chose a size 16 for that variation. And I chose a size 18 for that variation. And it was a little bit too big. And so I decided for the second variation to choose the size 16. The 16 fits better. And the size 18 is a little bit looser, especially for the fabric that I chose for the size 18. So the size 18, like I said, that was a Morex sponsored fabric, and it is a rayon jacquard fabric. And so it's very drapey, very loose. And although I like the room, I don't always like having my garments that loose. So that's why I decided for my second version to do a more tailored look. So the garment has these tails on the front of the pattern, and they're really long. Now it's showing here that you can do it with a 45-inch wide fabric, and you just have to make sure that you have more fabric. So for the size 16 and 18, it's calling for 1 3/4 yards to 1 7/8 yard on a 45-inch wide fabric. I would say do at least 2 yards of fabric, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. So I was working with this for the first fabric. This Morex fabric is just so just drapey and nice, and so like I said, you can see that it's very drapey. So if you want a more structured look, you can choose like it's saying that you can choose linen type fabrics, but mostly this pattern is calling for your silkier fabric. So charmeuse, challis, crepe de chine, jacquards, silky type fabric. So it doesn't really call for any cotton type fabrics. And so keep that in mind as well. The design of the fabric is going to, or the design of the pattern is going to be accommodating for those types of fabrics. So I wouldn't suggest making it with like a cotton fabric. Maybe you can get away with a cotton sateen. You could probably get away with the cotton sateen if it's, you know, light in weight and not so stiff. But for my versions, I decided to go with the drapier fabrics, and I think they turned out really well. The only adjustment that I made to this pattern is, like I said, to the neckline. So I did my V neckline. It's really easy to do. I can show you how I did it, and you can get an idea of how I did that. Now for the modification that I made is at the bottom of the top where the ties are, there's a hole in that area, and I'll show you what it looks like because it's hard to explain, but there's a hole there. You have to sew the center front at a certain point down the garment, and the reason why you're sewing a center front seam is because you have those ties on the front, and so you have to be able to accommodate for those ties. Now they have you stop at a certain point, and it's, for me anyway, it was near my belly button. Now for those of you who are longer in the midsection, it may not be in that area, but for me it was near the belly button, and I found that that was not enough. It still left a real big hole in that area, and I didn't want any skin or anything like that showing. So I went down just a little beyond the stitching point that they tell you to go. So that's the only adjustment that I did to that part of the garment. At the waistline, not the waistline, sorry, the hem of the garment, I just did a really narrow 3/8 of an inch hem. And for the sleeves, I did the same thing. I just did a really narrow 3/8 of an inch hem. For my second variation for this blue version, I made, I adjusted the sleeve and I made a bishop sleeve instead of a flutter sleeve. So I kept the top part of the pattern because I didn't want to redraft the entire sleeve pattern. So the top of the sleeve where the arm side, you know, where you put the arm side in, I kept that shape, and then I just created a sleeve out of that. Instead of having this flutter sleeve, I decided to create a bishop sleeve, and I put a cuff at the end. I made 2 cuffs for my sleeves and put a cuff at the lower edge of my sleeve as well. And because it's a bishop sleeve, I also had to gather in the sleeve at the lower edge of the hem there. And I just attached the cuff, and so you'll see that it's a gathered bishop sleeve with a cuff, which I really like that. And I was able to use up the fabric. So I wanted to do something different because I wanted to use up my fabric, and I didn't want to have fabric left over. And so that's why I did that. And then also I think it looks a little bit more elegant, and I can wear it not just in the summer. I can also wear it in the spring because it has a long sleeve. Now that fabric is a crepe de chine fabric. It's really soft, really nice and beautiful. I purchased that one from Hobby Lobby last year, so it's no longer around, at least not at any of my locations. It's a really nice fabric, really light in weight. Really love it. So for the skirt, I decided I have a New Look TNT pattern, and I'll show you what that looks like. I always go to that pattern when I want a really nice simple skirt that has an elasticated back and a flat front waistband. It's my favorite go-to skirt, and I cannot tell you enough about that. But I'll show you a couple of versions that I've made with that skirt pattern. I absolutely love that. So the blue scuba skirt that I made would go perfect with this floral white and blue top that I made. So that's one of the reasons why I use that fabric, so that I can continue to get matching sets out of a lot of the fabrics that I am creating. So I absolutely love this top. The only thing that I would do different is the cuffs. So the cuff is a little bit too tight. I should have expanded the cuff just a little bit more. And so it's not tight, but it's just, it's too fitted for my taste. I would definitely like to open that sleeve cuff up a little bit more. And who knows, I have a little bit of fabric left over. I might do it if it irritates me enough, because I absolutely love the garment there. The V neckline on I need to do some work with that a little bit. I did the V neck for both variations, and I feel like it didn't come out exactly how I wanted it. There's not puckers, but the fabric doesn't rest or relax as much as it should in that area. And so I do have to fix that a little bit more. But other than that, I think it came out wonderfully. I absolutely love the garments that I was able to create with this pattern. I definitely want to make another one and try my hand at not just the crepe de chine and the rayon jacquard, but maybe a challis fabric as well, and see what that looks like. But those are the garments that I made with this New Look N6609. I would recommend it. It's a really beautiful pattern. I want to give the high neckline a try as well, and maybe sew that in the future. So yeah, like I said, definitely recommend this pattern. It was really fun to sew, and it is quick and easy as well. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel if this is your first time. Thank you for stopping by and tuning in, and for all of you who continue to come in and support me week after week, thank you so much for stopping by and tuning in today. I hope you all have a happy sewing week, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.